Hello, this is Gene. I just want to talk about a few things that have got me kind of riled up. I've been trying to get off social media and just basically live in my life. Um, I have a lot of stuff that I have to do in the next 4 or 5 months to move our house up to Alabama. So obviously that's taken my time. Haven't really done too much. We cleaned out some of the house, but anyway. But sometimes I can't just allow it go. And there's a lot of things that's happened. I want to talk about white guilt and the white savior mentality. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about some other things. But it keeps coming back and back to the same people. I'm not talking about the Jews this time. I'm talking about the women's national team. A couple years ago, I did a video about the myth that the women should be paid more, or at least the same as the men in this country. And several people came out and said that capitalistic society would never allow for this. I mean, they shouldn't be paid more because they're playing a different, even though it's still soccer, it's at a different level. And they should not get what the men make. And regardless of that, men still make more money when it comes to that. It has more revenue. And the women overall get more when you look at the capital that they bring in, how much they get per each individual. So it started with that, and that's just normal pay gap bullshit from the feminists. And I'm like, okay, but it's gotten worse and worse and worse as some of the older guys, girls have left the team. Amy Wambach and some of the others. The team has become more and more feminized, and now they have four campus captains, three of them that are co-captains, and one of them is I guess a devout Marxist at this point. And recently, she said that she will never probably stand for or put her heart over her heart during the national anthem. That it's basically a fuck you to the Trump administration. And I'm like, oh God, here we go again. You got to make it all about yourself, not about the national team. So I'm like, okay, whatever. You think what you want to think. And then I saw some of the things she said that Trump only wants people that look like him to be in this country. So now we're back to the anti-white shit again. When you get to the point where you're so tied into, so brainwashed to the ideology of feminism that you believe this shit, this intersectional sectional stuff, that believe that you're always depressed, no matter who you are. If you're a white woman, you're going to be oppressed. But this woman has never been oppressed in her life. No woman in my lifetime, no white person in this country has been oppressed. And they try to tie it to like people in the civil rights movement. Now, in '68, when those athletes in the Olympics actually put their hands up in the air, there was a reason for it. Black people are being somewhat oppressed in this country, especially in the South. And there was a lot of other cover-ups of people getting killed. Now that's changed quite a bit. But the thing that really upsets me is the huge double standard. If you're somebody on the left and you protest at an event like this, it's fine. You become like a star for it. And I didn't support what the NFL players did because I think that they were kneeling on a false premise because Michael Brown wasn't shot with his hands up. The study knows this. Everybody that's actually looked at this stuff knows this is what happened. This man, a 6'8" man, went after the cop and tried to take the gun off of him. And that's usually what happens. So, but there are still some issues in the black community, and some of it is self-inflicted. It clearly is. When you have a 75% single mother rate in your community, you're going to have issues. So in '68, when all this was going on, and the riots were going on in the South, and there was a reason to have some real change in this country. Actually happened before that, and the Civil Rights Act started after Kennedy was killed. But obviously we were going through so much shit back time, because that time Malcolm X got killed, so did Martin Luther got killed, and so did RFK got killed. So the country was like falling out in the seams, and there had to be a change. And what the government came in, and they thought they were doing the right thing, just like the boomers now, they say, everybody blames the boomers for what they did. Well, back then they thought, actually their parents thought they were doing the right thing. And the boomers and the Generation X allowed this to continue on. So you could have an issue for it, but they thought they were doing the right thing. And this is part of that white savior, white guilt thing that we have. But anyway, I think it's pretty much clear that what the government did has been a huge disaster in the black community. But there's never been a white woman that has ever been oppressed like any black person has been in this country. And to sit there when this woman continually says, I don't want this country to look for people to look like him. So he's basically saying 62% of the country is not really American at this point. And I'm like, why is she a co-captain? I don't understand this. If this was a men's team and they were doing something like this, there would no way that person would be out there doing what they're doing. And she makes it all about herself. This has nothing to do about the team. It's because she has a problem with Trump. It's like, okay, what if Hillary would have been elected and we had the same issues in this country that we had before Trump was elected? The only thing that Trump really has done is bring the economy back from where it was, and our employment rate is a little bit lower than it used to be. And that's really about it. I mean, he hasn't done anything else. He hasn't done anything on immigration or anything like that. But now, the 62 million people that vote for him, who are they the bad people now? So you're going to basically just, I don't understand this, and how we allow this to happen. And if this was a men's sport, this would not happen. And the fact that we allow this because they're females and their female privilege that nobody wants to talk about, and they continually are doing the same shit, continually saying that the men didn't have a good team. I mean, this is what they put in their briefs when they sued, that the man's team is just not a very successful team, and so therefore they should get more money because they have all these World Cups when they're playing other women, when they could never win against anybody that's a male over 15 years of age. They could never beat them. But we should allow them, give them money because they're women, even though they don't draw in nearly the revenue that men do. And this is an easy economic thing you can do. You can make it really clear, even on their great years that they win the World Cup, that they might actually match the men. Over time, they don't. And it's the only team in the world that has this issue. And I said back then, when I first did this thing, because I was more on the left back then, I said I have no issue if they want to go back and renegotiate. But they've signed a contract that they want a guaranteed money, and now they want guaranteed money, and they want the same money as the men have. And the men didn't sign that. They are basically selected on their performance as club players, and if they do end up winning, different parts in the tournament, they get some of that. And they basically get money based on their performance. Women want the money up front, regardless of what they do, and then they still want the same money as men have. They're not having any risk when it comes to this. So I got upset about that. I said, this is the same shit that we're always just, what's the word I'm looking for? You support women, not that. We're always having to pull them up because they can't do it themselves. Now, I watched the women's soccer for a long time, well before '99. I've been a big fan of them, but I lost all hope for them because it seems to me, with the older girls leaving, even though most of them are lefties, they were somewhat okay when it comes to that. But the newer ones are so to that side. And then when you have one of your co-captains out there with her blue hair, like she's Laura Dern from the Last Jedi, she's not representing me. She's not representing most of the people in this country. When you actually sit down with people and say, women only make this, so why should they get twice as much as the men do? Because right now, as I said before, women are still paid more based on how much they make. If the Women's World Cup gets let's say $10 million, they get like 12% of that, each of the players. The men get like 6, but then they make so much more, and how big the men's World Cup is. So they get, at the end of the day, they make more money, but they get less percentage of it. What the women want is they want all of this, and they think that, and then they continually say things like this, and they compare themselves to the men's national team. But if they played each other, they would never score. They wouldn't, unless the men allowed them to score. And there is a difference between women's soccer and men's soccer. There's very few sports that men or women can actually compete with men in when they're at the same level. comparatively. You can't, like, if you got like Serena Williams against Nadal, there's no, she would get 2 or 3 matches or 2 or 3 games maybe. Probably not. And then maybe golf and a certain course, the best women might do well against the men because you never know. Because from about 150 feet, 150 yards in, men and women can be pretty close. I mean, it's more of a skill than anything else. And they're good when it comes to driving cars. They're good with in planes. They're very good with that. Their spatial stuff is better than men in a lot of ways. So, but people don't want to have this conversation. And I'm trying so hard not to get upset when a woman like this continually does this. And I really liked her 15 years ago. I thought, even though she was gay, I mean, I was kind of attracted to her. I don't know why, back then I was. But I like the way she plays and all that stuff. And I'm okay. You can be a fucking Marxist. I don't really care. But when you go out there and you're representing my country, and you're out in a foreign land after D-Day is just done, and you're sitting there and you're not going to put your hand over your heart because you have a problem against Trump, what is wrong with you? What about all the people that died so you could have these freedoms? And again, women have never been oppressed in this country. There have been times that maybe the roles were not where that women go to work that was kind of like frowned upon, but they were never oppressed in this country, ever. The only people that have ever been oppressed have been the indigenous people, the black people, the Chinese people who came over when they were working on the railroads, some of the other shit. But it was never systemic. You still had white saviors that were trying to save all these people. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, and this happens in every country. And I can talk about this too. I don't know if I want to do it here because that makes this video go forever. But whenever in a majority country that has one race or culture, they're going to look at other people as different. And what makes our country great is the fact is eventually most people will assimilate against our thought processes of the Western way. Now, in the last 30 or 40 years, we've allowed people to come to this country that don't want to assimilate. And that's part of the problem we're having right now. And we're not really looking at the real causes of this. We don't have that deep dive into the black community of why they're having the problem they're having, and stop saying that single mothers are the greatest things of all time, because they're not. They're destroying the black community, and they're all doing it now in the white community as well. And women can't have everything. I mean, you can't. The studies are clearly there. Women are most oppressed in history. So when the government comes in and says we're going to fix this, we're going to get welfare for women to have babies because there's no men around. We're going to have welfare for in the black community because most of the men are in prison because whatever, right? And we have the state running that stuff. You see what happens. The black community has no family structure at all. In the white community, most women are on some sort of depressing stuff. And also because men don't have any real value anymore, and they don't have any worth, they're killing themselves at epidemic levels. So I don't. When somebody is so brainwashed that she thinks just because Trump said a few things about Mexicans and the rapists that come across the border, that he wanted to stop that from happening, but that means that everybody that looks like Trump is the real problem with this country. It's anti-white rhetoric that should be called out. And it's unfortunate. I know there are people on that team. I know there's other females that play that are more conservative. There's got to be. You can't have 23 people all being lefties. There's got to be a couple conservative women on that team. And they're being silenced. They can't say anything. And they have to go around and parade around with these women whenever they go up there and do their fake outrage that they're not getting as much as the men. And I hope when this goes to trial that they will be laughed out of court. Now, I said in my video before, I don't think that's going to happen. I think at some point that the women's national team, the administrators will probably cave at some point and give them more money, even though, again, all these women signed these contracts. So, like I said, they want their cake and they want to eat it as well. And that's all fine. We can have that conversation about equal pay. It's all bullshit, but they can have that conversation, and we can have that in a court of law, and we'll see where we go with that. If we just want to sit there and supplement them like we do in the NBA with the women's NBA, that's what they're doing there. If we're going to do that in soccer as well, fine. They've never had a women's um, um, league that actually survived in this country, and the MLS is doing pretty well. It's the top five, top four sport now in the United States. But the women's leagues will never do anything because people don't watch it. We all get happy when it come during the World Cup because we like to support our women, right? That's what we do, and most people that watch soccer are still men. But so we can have that conversation. But there needs to be a calling out here. You cannot sit there and be a co-captain of the United States national women's team and sit there and say what you're saying, or say that she won't do it because she doesn't like Trump. Trump is just a figure in time when it comes to the United States. If you don't like his ideology, that's fine. But he is not the most conservative person that we could have got. I mean, good Lord, he is a Democrat in almost every way, except for maybe pro-choice. And so, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, I did pretty well here because I was very, very upset during my walk. Like I said, I've been trying very, very hard to just keep people like this out of my mind, because I've been so black-pilled recently. And my son's the same way, and that really upsets me because he's got my future when it comes to my lineage. And that's stupid to say it, but it's important to me. And sometimes he watches my videos. I'm not trying to force him to have babies, but I think it would make him a better man to have the relationship with a woman and have kids. And even though him and his family's probably going through a lot of shit, it's going to happen. I said to him the other day is that what really worries me is because I thought that maybe I would probably miss all this, that I would die before the big shit. But everything's like compounding, and I just think it's going to happen probably well within my lifetime, unless I get another sex sickness, that something really, really bad is going to happen. And I feel bad for him that he has to go through it, because this country wasn't that far along ago that we were great. So before I leave, I just want to say something really quick. Nick Fuentes talked about this woman. We have people on the conservative side, and again, I don't really consider myself conservative, but a lot of women out there, they're trying to get money because a lot of guys will watch women who talk about the stuff they talk about. So you go on YouTube and you'll see some of these conservative women, and then eventually they get called out. They say something stupid. They say something that's more feminist, or eventually they say that it was stupid for the wall. This is what this one woman did, and she was supposed to like have a debate against Nick. Now Dick will kill anybody when it comes to debate. For a 20-year-old dude, he's unbelievable what he can do. But anyway, so she got called out, then she blocked him and all that shit, and now there's like videos out of her, and what she said, Nick goes way over to one side. He says women shouldn't be in politics and shit, and he's being there for being edgy, but there are a lot of women like this. There clearly are, especially people that are in the movement that when shit hits the fan, they no longer, like Lauren Southern, that's another one. But I didn't really care about what she had to say. I mean, I looked at her and you could tell who she is. She's a thought. I mean, she's an e-girl. It doesn't, whatever. It's the guy after that. This hipster-looking dude, black hair or blonde hair, perfect spike hairs, nice goatee or whatever the fuck he had. He's like, well, it doesn't really matter because we're being britted out of existence anyway, and we have to deal with it. And, we got to get the other thing better because, we got to get things better. I'm like, yeah, let's just give up. Let's capitulate to everything. And Faith Goldie, who could be called e-girl, but she basically said this is capitulation as well. And I agree with her 100%. Yes, I've been black-pilled. I think that probably the future is we're going to lose the majority in this country. And I don't think that's a good thing. Although the white people that are around right now, I don't know that I'd want them to be the majority in this country because half of them are just loony coons when it comes to this shit. They don't realize what's going on. And they think that at some point that when they're no longer the majority, that all of a sudden they're going to be accepted into whatever the ruling class is. And let me tell you something, they won't be. So, because our schools are telling our kids that it's been the white man's fault since day one. So how can you expect when the people who are in power are going to say, now I have the power, now I'm going to punish you, because that's what humans do. You know, the only people that haven't really done that is us. We had slaves and we stopped it, and we did all this stuff in countries that we bombed and were at war with, and we went back and we rebuilt it. No country's ever done that. Only we have, and that's some of the greatness of our country. But it is what it is. But this guy is like, I'm like, this is our future. This guy's probably in his 20s, you know, but he's more important about, he's a more metrosexual looking dude trying to make sure he looks good on the camera, you know, and instead of saying, what the fuck are you talking about? I would never tell my son that we got to give up. I don't care if at the end of the day, if there's only 10% of us, this happened the last 2 generations, that we went from 90% to 62%. If we change the laws, or we make it more incentivized to have babies in this country, like they're doing in some of the countries in Eastern Europe, we could get them back. We can get back to 75%. We could. We definitely could have more black people in this country if we banned abortion at certain levels, because they're sitting at 13%, and they've been that way for 100 years, because they have a million babies and they abort a million a year. Now, again, I'm okay. They are part of our American experience. I say that the West was created by white people, because it was. Now, we had some labor from people from other colors, but it was still created by the white people. But I understand the United States is a different thing, and African Americans or black people were part of the experience of becoming American, to become the United States of America. And we together could make something happen here, because most people are still, we have assimilated each other. We have issues sometimes, and that's how tribal people are. White people will still probably live with their white people, and black people probably still live with other white people or black people. In any series, or in the bigger metropolitan areas, they're together, of course, but they still are concave together. There's nothing wrong with that. But they still have, most of them have this idea of what the West is, or what the Americans is, you know, whether that's having an iPhone or something like that, which probably needs to be changed. That's another video. But we're all kind of together with that, right? We're okay with that. And then there's people that truly think that white people are the devil. And as more and more that they have more power, and they do. When our politicians will say our future is going to be this, and I don't care if the browning of the United States, or if my granddaughter is going to have brown eyes. I mean, it's so anti-white, and this is not allowed in any other country that's not white. These would be considered traitors, and in some countries they would be marched out and they should be shot. Now, I've said many times to my son, to my wife, that I think that all of them, all 483, or is it 435? I think it's what it is. The representatives and the congressmen, or the congressmen and the senators, should be all lined out, and they should be shut down the street, because they're all traitors, every damn one of them. Even though I like some of them, so there might be a couple that I wouldn't, and that we should restart over. But anyway, now I sound like I'm acting to go kill people, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that sometimes my mind, because they're all traitors, they're all bowing down to the final god, which is money and Luciferian type societies, and you know where that goes. And I'm not going to go in this video. Those who know me know where I would go. So let me know what you think below. Just look into this. You know, if you don't watch soccer or anything like that, just see if that would not, if you're from a different country, and if your women's team was doing well, like in England, the Lionesses, all of a sudden somebody came up and said, well, I can't support whoever the new prime minister is going to be. Let's say that Farage wins, because he's the same level as Trump, let's say, what he believes. And she's like, oh, I can't do this thing. I can't do the anthem. Would you allow that in your country? Would you say that you can no longer be a captain? I just wonder. So let me know what you know in the comments below, and we can talk about it. Thank you for watching. You guys have a good day. Bye.